for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome in Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon. This afternoon is we're going to have plenty of things to discuss today. We're going to get a little to what to watch for, presented by BRYANT Technologies. We'll also have an SEC update presented by Rhoback. We'll buy or sell action according to Bet Saracen. And also get into your chats, of course. No phone lines today because, again, lost luggage hasn't arrived yet, but hopefully here soon. But either way, fellas, it's good to see you once again on a Tuesday. How we feeling? How we feeling now that we're hitting the midweek?
Pretty good, man. Hanging in there. I'm excited for another basketball game, and there's something to be said for being serenaded with the smooth voice of Kenny Payne before starting this show. So I'm on top of the world, boys.
Yeah. Right back to it. We knew that was a one-off. Cal doing the pre-game press conference, which I really actually don't have that much of a problem with. But yeah, I'm excited. Curtis had an episode of Pot at the Palace that basically asked if Arkansas was a one-hit wonder. I really don't want to find out the answer to that question. So I'm kind of trying to enjoy living in this world now where we're coming off of an awesome win and everything. And I know we got to turn the page, but I really don't want to know what's on the other side of that page.
No, I don't think anybody does. I think people want to, kind of relive that feeling and have some hope and optimism, because I still think it's a little hit or miss right now, depending on who you're talking to. Because let's be honest, I know we talked about it a lot yesterday, but going 13 of 25 from three for Arkansas doesn't seem like something that's probably going to stay consistent, as great as that may be. But still, they're going to have their work cut out for them. We all know that. But, when we broke down yesterday of talking about the SEC games that are remaining, Arkansas's got 10 of them, and, what the bare minimum is to get to the NCAA tournament, or at least inside the realm or the conversation of the NCAA tournament. I think you even tweeted out, Curtis, of Joe Lunardi having Arkansas as the next four out at this point in time. I think it may be the bottom four of the next four out. So you're talking about really, you are right there kind of in the mix. That's what's going to be the discussion, if Arkansas can do enough with that. And on top of that, I kind of wanted to take it another step further, because when we were in Lexington, a lot, not many, but a lot of the people down over there in Big Blue Nation were saying, oh, Cal can't coach. He's X's and O's, whatever. And I started thinking, I'm like, what, let's just play this fun game. If Arkansas is going to go to the NCAA tournament, say if they do get it turned around, say if they end up getting in there somehow, some way, regardless of what they do in the NCAA tournament, that'll have to prove that John Calipari is still a next level coach, a guy that is still an elite level coach, and considering how the season has gone, might be his best coaching job ever in his career, being able to get a team that was dead in the water to be a team that's in the NCAA tournament. Would that be the case this year?
It'd be a hell of a coaching job, but I don't think I'd put it anywhere near his best coaching job of his career. But yeah, there's something to be said for digging yourselves out of a ridiculous hole. And it's going to take him doing his patented dragging them across the finish line. If that's going to happen, you lose your best NBA prospect. There's been a lot for this group to overcome. Obviously, Jonas isn't healthy. There's a lot of factors playing against him, but he also, in a way, kind of coached himself into the situation that they're in. So coaching his way out of it would be pretty impressive. Maybe it would be one of his better coaching stretches of the year, but I certainly wouldn't be able to call it the best coaching season of his career when it was the worst start in a conference play of his career and the worst in the program's history. Hopefully it's just not something that we have to look back and remember because they figured it out in the end.
Yeah, I think the context always matters here. And I think not having some of those other guys that he's leaned on in the past few years and on his coaching staff, not having a Welch, not having an Antigua, whoever it is, that would matter a little bit. So I think if you maybe look at it, you're like, okay, he doesn't really have any assistants that are helping him in any meaningful way. He's got his point guard out, got a roster that's short. It was kind of a thrown together in the offseason. I could maybe see the makings of a stretch, but I agree with Curtis that if you just look at his career, the dude won a national championship with a bunch of freshmen. They were very talented freshmen, but that one is going to be, it's going to be hard to top going 32-2 or whatever it was. Hell, even the year they almost went undefeated. He's had some big time, accomplishments as a head coach. And to your point, Curtis, it started off so poorly that I really don't know how we could get there. But I think it would definitely be an impressive feat if Arkansas made the NCAA tournament. it would be something. And I think that would be a testament to the willpower of this team and just the fact that they didn't quit, which Cal should definitely get a lot of credit for. But just based on the preseason expectation and where this season has gone and where it might end up, I don't know if I can quite get there.
Well, that would be like the weird thing about it for me is that, I always felt like at the end, it's always about the way your season ends, and that's what people remember, and that's what people will always bring up. And if you ever need a reference to that, look a couple years ago when Arkansas went to the Sweet 16, beating Kansas and all that. That's what people remember. But what they don't remember is the fact that Arkansas lost to that terrible LSU team to start this season. They had some other bad losses, but nobody cares about that. Nobody remembers that because it's where you finish. And so that would be, I think, such a weird thing considering where you're at right now and where the season could end up. Because say if they made the NCAA tournament somehow and then even won a game or two, and I know we're really looking ahead and kind of getting crazy with it, but just looking at it in that reality, to try to put that to make sense is like, man, this was a team that hadn't looked good all year and, had a couple nice wins and then turned it around at the end. I'm not going to be calling for John Calipari to have coach of the year in the SEC or anything like that. But man, it would be, as you said, Ellis, a feat that would be so impressive that it'd almost feel like, man, all that stuff about Cal and him being washed or him being cooked, it's one thing to start off strong and to go strong and finish strong. But I mean, at least not to this level. I feel like he hasn't had his back against the wall during the season and made those in-season adjustments or adapted to where they finished strong and were able to make something out of it, where it looked like a big pile of crap and they at least made it into somewhat of a diamond. So I think it would just be that part of it that would be so surprising and so weird. But also, again, at this point, if Arkansas was to just make the NCAA tournament, I think all of us would be happy. I think Razorback fans would be pumped. Even if they lost the first round, it's like, man, all right, well, glad that we steered a little bit, at least into positivity. And it would give you a lot of momentum heading into next year too, and believing like, okay, bad year, but finish strong. Let's see what they do next season. I think that's what I want to see more than anything is, yes, of course, making the NCAA tournament, but even if they don't do that, just playing their best basketball at the end of the year, looking like a team that we were hoping for, which is not going to erase the losses that they had in the early part of the season, but at least give it to a point of like, hey, there was no give up. There was no problems here. There was a team that still had something to play for. And it's going to make you feel a lot better about next season rather than, well, yeah, this season sucked. They won 4 SEC games. Next year, who's to say it won't happen again? It would at least provide some of that feeling and that goodwill towards Cal and towards the team and the program in general heading into next year.
Yeah, it's interesting because this has kind of been his shtick, but to the extremes, right? Because he was trying to warn us coming into the year, and and Kentucky folks would say the same thing about how teams would look just kind of lost and disjointed and everything early in the year, and then once you get on into SEC play and get to February, they usually flip the switch and start playing their best basketball towards the end of the season. Now, what sucked for them the last couple of years is then that hasn't translated once they got to the NCAA tournament. But it is the extremes, right? Of like the early season struggles that he hinted at, or that maybe BBN hinted at. That wasn't nothing compared to what we've seen so far this year, man. So to be dug into a deeper hole and have a higher climb to get out of it, then yeah, I think that would be real impressive. But you're right, just in terms of carrying momentum and everything moving forward into the future, I think they got to make the tournament to do that. And they could be playing some pretty good ball going into the end of the year, but if it still ends with like an NIT or something, even if you were kind of cooking late in the year and Cal goes up there like Buzz Williams and reads a handwritten letter to the selection committee saying, you guys got this wrong. I still don't know if I'd be able to get there, man. Like I feel like they got to get that berth, even if it's a freaking 12 seed or something. You just got to do it.
I mean, let's be honest. Arkansas has to make the NCAA tournament. I know we talked yesterday about the likelihood and all that. And I agree. If Arkansas say that they were in the last or the first 4 out and they didn't quite make it, really what it would take is a pretty nice run down the stretch and all that. Still, it just would not. I agree, Curtis. It would feel empty. And frankly, we said coming into the season, we said if this team missed the NCAA tournament, that would be an abject disaster. That was what we said. And frankly, I feel like that's still true. Now, you can make a case if they finish respectable. It wouldn't be a disaster, especially when you take into account some of the circumstances. But Arkansas definitely has to make the NCAA tournament for us to consider this season anything close to a good, positive, successful thing. And to your point, Curtis, about how he has the runs, it's a season of runs, as they say. And that's one thing that Cal, it is very hot and cold. And we've seen this happen where his teams go through these crazy stretches. If you listen to Kentucky fans the last few years, they would have you believe that it's always you go on a crazy run in the regular season and then you finish the year poorly, which obviously was kind of the case last year. But even last year's team had a tough start, then a hot middle, and then a rough end. But I think about some, since we're talking about Cal's coaching jobs, that 2013-2014 season where they lost in the national title game with the Harrison twins and Julius Randle and all that. I think that's like a very interesting, kind of embodiment of what we're talking about when we say Cal's teams get hot and cold like crazy. So that team got as high. They started the year number 1 in the country because they had this crazy recruiting class. They ended up kind of doing okay, lost some non-conference games. And then they get up in conference play. They were ranked for almost the entirety of it. They end up losing 3 of their last 4 games of the regular season to get unranked for the first time all year. They were then a bubble team. They went into the SEC tournament having to maybe make a little bit of a statement. They win a couple games there and then go all the way to the title game. You beat a 9 seed Kansas State, beat a 1 seed Wichita State, beat a 5 seed Louisville, beat a 7 seed Michigan, and then all of a sudden you're in the title game. That would probably, obviously that's an extremely, extremely optimistic thing there. But like Cal's teams do weird stuff, man. They get on these weird runs, for lack of a better term. Like they can get hot. And so I think for Arkansas, you're going to need to get hot in the regular season. You can't wait for the postseason. But I think like at this point, you just have to be banking on that if you're an Arkansas fan. And I agree, like no matter what happens, it'll be somewhat impressive, but it will definitely be seen as a failure of a season if this Razorback team doesn't make the NCAA tournament.
Well, you brought the key word there, Andrew. Weird, because that's what this season has been pretty much in a nutshell. It's been weird, sometimes in good ways, sometimes in bad ways. Like I know we talked about it, but I think back to that Michigan game that they won, which is a really nice win and was a really cool moment up in Madison Square Garden. But even that game, you see the final score, like, what a close game. Like Michigan was up by 1 billion, then Arkansas got up by 1 billion, and then it ended up being a close game. It was a weird game. The some of the losses that they have just been weird. The game against Kentucky was weird because we hadn't seen anything like that before. And that's where I guess the intrigue and interest comes into it for me, because it's been such a weird year that if Arkansas was to go on a run and was to make the NCAA tournament, it's going to be weird because you're like, where was this? Where was this team? How come this didn't happen before? So that's kind of just sums up the entire year of weird, and hopefully they make it weird, but in a positive way. Hopefully they make it weird in a way that gets them to being into the NCAA tournament, and then you can really make it weird. But I don't think there's been anything about this particular season in any stretch or form or fashion that has been predictable. I mean, we've been talking about it all year long. I don't know what team's going to show up again. Texas come tomorrow night in Austin. I mean, what if the team against Kentucky shows up? Well, that'll be really nice. They'll probably win. But what if it's that team that showed up against Tennessee or the team that showed up against Missouri? You just, I don't know. And it's unpredictable. The mystery provides excitement and intrigue. But I'm just hoping that they are able to make it weird and continue to make it weird and be unpredictable, because I think right now unpredictable is a positive at this point in time for this team. So,
yeah, well, yeah, that's 100% true, because it was becoming predictable that they were going to lose games. So if they're tracking back to, we don't know what to expect, I think you're right, man. That might be a good thing, because more good could be on the horizon.
Uh-huh. Has this been the weirdest basketball season like that we've seen in a while? I mean, is this a weirder one than the Muss years?
It's not
I gotta say, the Muss years were pretty freaking weird. Like I know it sounds like we all kind of, again, we've all agreed to just remember the Muss era. Like there was never any weird moments. There was never any downside.
The Nick Smith weird year was crazy.
Yeah, every single January we got to a point where we were like, "There's no way this Arkansas team could make the tournament." I said that multiple times. I remember Arkansas got beat by Vanderbilt in Bud Walton. I think it was the Stanley Amude Tony team that also lost to Hofstra. They all had all these weird losses. And I remember like tweeting out baseball videos that night, because I was like, people are going to be so checked out on basketball. Like it's we're moving on to baseball season. That was in like mid-January. Like that wasn't even that far along in the season. And so it's like there were definitely some crazy swings up and down. I mean, Arkansas was down to like 94 in the net in one of those seasons. And so, and those were some of the most memorable basketball seasons of all time. And so we're not saying without a shadow of a doubt, hey, this team's going to go on a run, but it actually wouldn't be without a ton of precedent here lately.
How did that team that lost to Hofstra wind up getting a 4 seed, man?
They learned how to play defense like on like January 19th. They were like, wait a minute, defense? Yeah. And they went from like one of the worst defenses in college basketball to one of the best overnight. And I think this Arkansas team is going to have to go from one of the worst offenses in college basketball to one of the best offenses overnight, which maybe that's what happened Saturday.
The crazy thing about, I'm sorry, I was going to say the crazy thing about this with Cal this year is best case. I mean, like they're not going to win 10 in a row here. You know what I mean? And so like best case scenario, if they get in the tournament, they're going to be an underdog in the first round. And that's something we haven't really experienced yet. 10 seed at best, but probably looking at that 11, it's going to be a different experience, different for Cal, and different from what we've grown used to with Eric Musselman, which is they just like weirdly play their way into a good seed and then have to fight off some mid-major. And I don't know, man, it's going to be a lot more like the 2023, when they had to play Illinois and do that kind of thing than it's going to be anything else we've seen recently. Dude,
I got to say, I kind of missed the bubble. Like in a weird way, because even that 2023 season, what Arkansas ended up as an 8 seed, right? I don't think there was times early in the year when they stunk where we were like, hey, is this team going to make the tournament? But by the time March rolled around, we were pretty confident like they were at least going to get in. It was just a matter of if it was 7, 8, 9 or whatever. Like we really haven't had a stretch, like a season that came down to the wire and we didn't know for sure if Arkansas was going to make the tournament or what it would look like. I kind of missed this.
Yeah, it feels good to at least kind of be in the weirdest of conversations of, hey, how could this happen and what could go down? But, I think back to, you brought up that year that team lost to Hofstra and how they made, go into that. Sometimes it was just about timing of everything. Cause I know y'all remember like their toughest games that year in the SEC were at home. I mean, they had Auburn at home. They had Kentucky at home. They had Tennessee at home. And that was a quote down year for Alabama. Which they still lost that game in a controversial way. But the point is like sometimes it's just about having things kind of go your way there at the end, and that's how you got it going. And the team that went and beat Kansas, I mean, they were a 10 seed in the SEC, but an 8 seed in the NCAA tournament. Well, why was that? Because they had an incredible net ranking. It wasn't that they had, this great record or anything like that. It was just they really did a good job of scheduling non-conference games and picking and choosing the games that they would lose or win and doing enough to get into that. Because in other cases, if Arkansas had a lower net, they may not even be in the tournament. So sometimes it's just about timing. It's about the schedule. It's about finding it at the right time. And that's why it's looking at the schedule this year in particular, as we've talked about, it's the vast majority are Q1 games. So any of them that you win the rest of the way are going to be big wins. They're going to be ones that help you. It's not like you have this team that's left on your schedule. You're going to be like, oh, geez, that could really hurt the net ranking for Arkansas. It's like, hey, anything you do, any wins you get is going to be helpful and it's going to be beneficial, starting with Texas tomorrow night. It's a Q1 game. And if you get that win, you're going to have that Q1, and then you got Alabama coming to town. Not saying you'll win that one, but you just kind of you're in a good spot to be able to get to that point, assuming you win these games. It's not like you got to win 10 straight. It'd be nice. It'd be fun, but you can do just enough with these games in front of you to where you can get into the tournament. I kind of hope they get a 12 seed just because I don't think I've ever seen, maybe it's happened, like an SEC team get a 12 seed. I don't know if that's even possible.
How trendy of a 12-5 upset would Arkansas be? Just
everybody.
They actually, it's funny when you said they would be an underdog. I was kind of thinking about it, and I was like, I could 100% see Arkansas being a 10 seed that's favored over a 7. Yeah. But I remember there's been a couple times where a 6 seed has been an underdog. If this Arkansas team were to make the NCAA tournament, they would check a lot of the boxes as like a -1.5 against a 7 seed or a 6 seed or something like that.
I'd be pretty pissed, I think, if I was like a top 25 level team that got a 5 or a 6 seed and I had to play Arkansas in the first. I'd be like, really? Like
you were just steady Eddie all year long.
Yeah, I don't get Stanford or yeah.
Yeah, you'd be like what Muss was that year when they got Vermont and got that draw that they had as a 4 seed or whatever it was. Like that would be the case. But yeah, I mean, also that would be the deal where regardless of playing, of course, Arkansas as a seed like that would be tough for you. But assuming that Arkansas did get to that point, odds are that means that they went on a run and they were playing their best basketball towards the end of the year and maybe had some good wins, maybe go to the SEC tournament, make a run. Like they'd be putting it in a weird spot. So
wait, hold on, John. Hold on. Sorry, that's me sucking up all these Kentucky tears in the chat right now.
Yeah, Derek Miller's an idiot, bro.
Just slurp them real quick.
And great.
Damn, Derek. I mean, what he's like, oh God, you beat Kentucky and now you guys are going ham. Oh, win one game, now you're ready to cut the nets down. Are you listening, bro? Like, do you have this shit on mute and you're just typing right now? Like, I mean, what are you talking about, man? We're over here like, how can Arkansas sneak into a 12 seed? How can a bubble team be on the right side of the bubble?
I miss being on the bubble. I like being on the bubble. I like not knowing if this team's going to make the NCAA tournament. It's like, what?
Dang, man.
Oh man, it's hard. They're coping right now, man. It's tough for them. Give them a break, all right.
When Mark Pope's your coach, that's what you got to do. You got to cope.
Yeah, I know.
And you got to take 30.
Yeah, they take 30. That's right. And also, hey, he's not March Pope, even though people try to make him out to be. So, maybe your best moments are going to be in the regular season because you still haven't won any NCAA tournament games with them.
Or more like March Nope.
Hey-o, watch out. That's we're going to coin that. Put that on a t-shirt, John Rothstein. Make that one happen.
You better get ready for Ole Miss is what you need to get ready for. We always have the fan base that'll be like, guys, we can't look past the opponent or whatever. You better watch out for Ole Miss. You better win that damn game.
Yep. That's going to be an intense one. In fact, we can go ahead and get into a little bit of action here because it is a Tuesday, and we're always appreciative of our sponsor of BRYANT Technologies. We can do a little what to watch, and it is presented by BRYANT Technologies, which is dedicated to delivering high-quality network infrastructure and security camera solutions. They take pride in their exceptional workmanship and commitment to keeping your business operations seamlessly connected and secure, whether it's structured cabling, security camera installation, digital signage, TV mounting, the works. BRYANT Technologies always has you covered, and they service the entire state of Arkansas, as well as Arkansas's bordering states. So have BRYANT Technologies help you with all your network and security needs. You can give them a call today at 870-883-0330, or check out their website at BRYANTStechnologies.com. That's right. There's an S in between there. BRYANTStechnologies.com. It's BRYANT Technologies, quality work guaranteed. All right, so a little what to watch, guys. I know that we'll talk a little bit more on the SEC update of the particular games, but since Arkansas does not play till tomorrow night, we got some interesting basketball action happening tonight. And I think, honestly, Kentucky fans are going to be like, oh, you're obsessed. No, I'm going to be kind of curious of watching Kentucky and Ole Miss tonight because I want to see, we talk about how Arkansas will follow up their win against Kentucky. I want to see how Kentucky follows up that emotional loss and letdown to Arkansas. And they're going to be playing tonight. And that game's in Oxford, 6 o'clock on ESPN. So it's on the big one. And Ole Miss, they're a good team, still a top 25 team. And according to Bet Saracen, favored by 4.5 in this game. So this could be fascinating tonight.
If Kentucky loses, that'd be 4 out of 5 that they lost. They dropped below 500 in SEC play. It would be tough scenes there for Mr. Pope.
It would definitely be tough scenes, and Kentucky would still be in very strong position in terms of NCAA tournament and stuff like that. I don't know where Lenardi had them projected seed-wise or anything, but they're a good bit away from kind of being in that situation. But hell, you lose this game, that starts to set in, and it becomes a snowball effect. And so then it's like some of your next games start having a lot of pressure on them because you start falling 2, 3, 4 games below 500. Hell, Arkansas would love to be 2 or 3 games below 500, but you start falling there, and it really becomes a bad omen. And then, obviously, if you get into the tournament, cool, it all resets. But how often do you see teams that finish the year losing 7 of 11 or 7 of 10 or whatever, and then they just go on a run in March? Doesn't really happen a ton.
No, it doesn't. And with, I don't know, I still laugh every time I see Ole Miss and when they're playing because I like looking at, where are they playing at? Oh, well, Kentucky and Ole Miss are playing at the Sandy and John Black Pavilion of Ole Miss. So it's
that.
like, I mean, you thought Bud Walton Arena had a clean sound into it. Imagine John George announcing that thing before, the basketball palace of Mid-America, the Sandy and John Black Pavilion at Ole Miss. So still, that's going to be a key game. And also for a lot of these teams that are in the mix there, in the flirting with the 500 range and trying to find some possible seeding up there too, they're going to be fighting for it. And, I'm just going to be honest, if Kentucky loses that game to Ole Miss, and not saying it ends their season and it's all over with, but as you mentioned, Curtis, losing a lot more there through a stretch, and they got South Carolina coming up next, which should be a win at home. But then you got Tennessee, who's going to be looking for a little bit revenge after that. They still have to play Bama. They still have to play Auburn. They still have to play at Missouri. And they got a tough stretch in front of them, so they got to take care of business here. But I guess Lamont Butler's still not playing. So I don't know. Is he going to be out for the year? Are they just going to announce that? I feel like what's going on there?
Yeah, Pope was talking about it. I think it was after the game, or maybe it was yesterday, but he was saying at some point they're going to try to give it a go again, but they don't know. I don't know. If you're like reading reading the tea leaves, it kind of sounds like he might need shoulder surgery or something, but like they're trying to see if he could play through it a little bit or if he could be effective. It doesn't seem like a good situation for him. And I hate that because honestly, at San Diego State, he was known as like a lockdown defender. And obviously he hit that big shot against FAU in the Final Four and stuff, but he had really kind of blossomed at Kentucky and became a scorer and a better shooter and probably playing his best basketball. You never want to see a guy in his last year get hurt and have it sidetracked like that. But yeah, I don't know, man. If he does come back, I have no idea what it's going to look like. Honestly, I guess he could still defend, but
yeah, man. I mean, hell, that's really, really what they need. Obviously, is the defense out there on the perimeter. But yeah, it does seem like if he does play well after the game Saturday, Mark Pope made it seem like it was we have no idea if he will be back or not. So I think that's a good assessment between the lines there of like, if he does play, it's probably not going to be 100%, and it would just be down the stretch to see if you can get anything out of him. Yeah, and like you mentioned, John, they've got a little bit of a tough stretch upcoming there, so they're going to need all the help they can get. They've got the South Carolina guaranteed win on the schedule. I would say LSU at home is a guaranteed win on the schedule. I might even go as far as to say Vanderbilt at home is a guaranteed win, although Vanderbilt did already beat Kentucky. But like outside of that, at Oklahoma is going to be pretty easy. There's not a ton of gimmies left for the Kentucky Wildcats. And so like it's going to be a little bit of a dogfight for these guys down the stretch, but that's also kind of what makes or breaks your team. That's when you figure out who you really are. And so you would much rather be going through a stretch like they're going through now. And so we'll see if they're able to find any type of identity without Lamont Butler. Yeah.
And especially with, with Pope being first year coach and this Kentucky team and all of that, if they have a huge letdown tonight and where they just don't look good or anything like that, I mean, I'm just curious. I know it's from afar, but I'm just going to be curious how these Kentucky fans are going to be you thought that they're kind of having the shine wear off on Pope, but if they follow up a bad loss at home, an emotional loss with another loss too, it just makes me wonder how many people are going to be starting to turn against Pope. I'm not saying fire him, but just start saying, okay, did we make the right choice here? I mean, is the KSR guys going to start saying like, is Pope the guy? Just there could be a lot of overreaction to that too. So it'll be fun. I'm just over here basking in other people's misery because that's all we got right now.
Kentucky has only had fewer than 10 SEC wins in a season one time in the last 15 years.
It's going to be hard for them to get 10. It really will be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd just be a shame too. JP, appreciate the super chat, JP, by the way. He says, man, oh man, what a story it would be if we start knocking off some wins. Let's do this. Woo pig baby. As always, thanks, gentlemen. Well, thank you, JP.
I feel like I've said it 100 times in the last 24 hours or so, but there is no better way to capture the hearts of Razorback fans than to win back-to-back games at Kentucky and at Texas. There's just nothing you could do that's better than that. So
hey, you Kentucky fans that think that you guys let's just pump the brakes a little bit. If they beat Texas, I'm just saying you're going to get really pissed off because we're going to start saying, hey, maybe this team can actually get into the tournament. And be like, okay, well, hang the banner then, guys. All right, go ahead.
If they beat Texas, there are no brakes on this train.
Yeah.
Well, and look, I got to give ourselves a pat on the back real quick. we're always ahead of a lot of things that happen. Like one, we crushed it football season. Every single prediction we made, like, pretty much came to fruition. We told you the Patrick Kudas situation was weird. We told you the Jalen Braxton situation was weird. But even like with basketball and in portal season, we of course were like, hey, it's about to stink here too. But even with basketball, we were like, hey, the atmosphere kind of sucks. And everyone shit on us for it. Everyone freaked out and was like, what are you talking about? The atmosphere is the best it's ever been. And now everyone is kind of unanimously agreeing that the basketball atmosphere sucks.
Now the stories are being written.
Right. Yeah, they're literally doing think pieces on it. Arkansas beats Kentucky. We're like, hey, does this change their season? Could this team make the NCAA tournament? And everybody's like, shut up. There's no way. Why would you be talking about the bubble? And then every single national guy since then has put out their bubble resumes, and Arkansas is right on the bubble of the bubble on literally all of them. And so then if you beat Texas, all of a sudden, again, it's officially a story worth talking about. And so, I'm sure it's just a coincidence, though.
Yeah, it has to be something to that nature. But also Logan, our guy Logan, appreciate you, Logan, says Cal said Jonas Aidoo is finally 100% last night on Cal Live. Man's lying through his teeth.
No, it's just not. I mean, that's just not true. I mean,
he said 90% before the Kentucky game, and he clearly was not 90%.
He hasn't scored in 3 weeks. I mean, he's not. There's just no way.
He's 100% mentally healthy, I think is what he's trying to say, or maybe spiritually.
I just want him to get something from the kid. I feel bad for him because you can just tell he's not right out there, and it's not like he hasn't been bad all year. Like, he was hurt, but there was a stretch where I thought he was healthy, and he snagged a double or two in SEC play. He looked good against Florida and Ole Miss, and he played fairly well against Missouri too. Like, he's had moments where I was thinking, hey, he's probably trending towards being healthy. But the last 2 weeks, I mean, it very much seems like the opposite. If I see him dunk a basketball in warmups, I'll believe he's trending towards being healthy. But man, they got to get something out of him, or they're going to have to start giving those minutes to Trevin, because Thero's playing so well at the 4 right now. It's hard to find. We keep wondering why Trevin's not playing that much. It's because you got to have Thero out there for 35 minutes. And so if you can't play Trevin some at the 5, you're just not going to have a huge role for him, because Thero's not going to slide up and play the 3 much with Carter Knox balling now. It's like, it's just one of those things. The way to find the minutes is if Jonas ain't playing, you get TB in there. So I hope he figures it out. But.
Well, Cal better not take away any the 2 for 3 Brazil, because that's best Brazil right now. It's 2 for 3 Brazil.
Right.
You got to keep him there, because that's what he does. Like about 10 to 12 minutes of action, 2 of 3 from the field. That's what it's got to stay consistent there. Also, David, appreciate the super chat, David. He said, what do you expect out of the atmosphere at home after beating Kentucky? Well, I think we've kind of alluded to it, but I think it depends on what you do against Texas first. If you're talking about the Alabama game on Saturday, but playing the what if game, if Arkansas was to beat Texas, guys, I would hope that game on Saturday against Bama would be the best atmosphere of the year. I would hope. And I think it would and will. 7:00 game's kind of weird on a Saturday, and that doesn't matter. It still should be an awesome atmosphere no matter what. Should be the best atmosphere of all. And hopefully that's good enough to, if you beat Texas, to help the team win against an Alabama team that's really good, but also beatable too.
Yeah, it might be the best anyway.
True. Good
win or lose, but if they beat Texas, yeah, I think it's going to be one of those special ones.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, being the best crowd of the year really ain't that hard of a thing to do at this point. So I think even preseason, we obviously all kind of thought, oh, hey, that's going to be a rocking atmosphere. I think even if Arkansas had lost to Kentucky, it probably would have been up there in terms of the best of the year. But yeah, it would be really nice for Bud to turn back the clock, and we could, as Big Pig ASAP said, it'd be nice to be militant for the Hogs again. It'd be nice for the fan base to really feel that, because I do think lately at home it hasn't felt like that us against the world. It felt like us against the team on the floor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and hopefully the student section starts getting better too. I'm just calling it out. Just hopefully they start developing, because I guess we found out that the boo at the Bud people, I guess, is now being done by the U of A. It's not even by the students anymore. So I don't know what's going on over there, but still, the energy will be fine. And if Arkansas is able to do that, it'll be nice to see it, and nice to see, because what would we say? The best atmosphere is probably Oklahoma. so far this year? Was that, I think we all agreed after they beat Georgia?
Yeah, probably
Besides
so.
Kansas.
I thought that I thought Florida's was really good. It wasn't quite as full, but I thought they were really engaged in that one. But yeah, from start to finish, plus like the amount of people in there, I think you're right. Oklahoma probably.
Yeah. So I mean, you saw the atmosphere there, and it didn't help matters. But yeah, do it in front of a crowd where you get the win too. Like do that, and that'll go a long way. A long way.
Okay, I got to do this.
What's up?
If they beat Texas, and then they beat Bama, you storm the floor. Do you do it?
Yes, you do it.
Kentucky, Texas, Bama, 3 in a row. Like,
yes, you do it, Curtis. Here's why you do it. And we've said it all along. One, you get one per year. One per year.
yeah.
Where the hell else would they storm if you just look at the schedule? They storming at home against Mississippi State? Hell no, they're not.
Exactly.
Whoever the hell, LSU? Hell no. And what would that moment mean if Arkansas, again, they beat Texas tonight? And then it's okay, because think about how excited everyone would be for that Bama game. It would definitely be the best crowd of the year. And beating Bama would officially mean, hey, this Arkansas team is like a tournament team. Like this is officially, they're on that trajectory. That would be, 3 straight wins. It would definitely be a moment. Cal's never been a part of a team that had to storm the court. I think he would have a hard time. The decision wouldn't be up to him. The Razorback Nation would absolutely be storming that court. Plus, Bama, what are they ranked? 3, 2?
3.
Yeah. If Arkansas beats Bama at home this weekend after beating Texas, the beating Texas is notable, though.
Yes.
Because then it really becomes a thing. Because if Arkansas beats Texas, that crowd's going to be crazier. The feeling of the fan base, hey, we're really going on a run. Beating Bama would kind of certify that. I think you would definitely get a court storm. That's a good call.
Yeah. Duke is number 2. They play Syracuse on the road tomorrow night. So I'm not saying that like, oh, don't storm it when they're number 3, but when they're number 2, storm it. I'm not saying that. But it would also think, as you said, get one a year. It would feel good. It would be also dependent a little bit on how you beat them. But correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Arkansas hasn't beaten Alabama since Muss's first year at Arkansas. Or second year at Arkansas, his first run into the Elite Eight. Pretty sure it's the last time they won.
Yeah.
So, it's been a while.
And they had the cardboard fans and Bud.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I understand, like, everyone kind of, like, tries to do the thing where they, like, pretend they're above storming the court. We did the same thing going into the Tennessee game where we were like, oh, is this field storming? And then it happened and you do it. It's like, it just kind of, it's one of those things you get one a year. I think this would be Cal's one and only court storming.
He would definitely get in the post game afterwards and be like, we're not going to do that again.
Yep. Oh yeah. I was going to say about him, it would be, you got to do it for Cal. That's who, because he's never experienced it before. I'm sure he's dying. He's itching to have a bunch of sweaty, gross college kids just swarming him, and he's having to be led through security, and his suit's getting all the gross. And yeah, I'm sure he would love and enjoy all of that. So he's got to experience it one time,
So, everyone always does this where they're like, oh, don't storm the court because you're behind. Was Arkansas worse than Auburn as a program when they stormed the court when they were number 1? No, but sometimes the moment, the atmosphere, you're playing a top team, you just do it. I don't know if Arkansas football, like Tennessee football, is not like this program where when you beat them, you got to storm the court, but they're ranked highly. Arkansas needed the win. You storm the field. It's never about really the opponent. I mean, it is about them in the terms of they have to be good and it has to be a notable win, but it's not like hey, we finally beat Bama. That's why we're storming the court. It would just be the Razorback fan base coming together for the first time all year, aside from Kentucky. I mean, hell, if that game Saturday had been in Bud Walton, you don't think they would have stormed?
Right.
Yeah.
Seriously though. And it would be like your third straight, Q1, and the first time they've been back at home since winning that game against Kentucky. Like there's a lot of factors in there that would have the place pretty jacked up. But I wouldn't be mad about it. I wouldn't be mad if they didn't.
No, I wouldn't be mad. And I also think an element that, a lot of fans who are anti-court storming don't care about, but I do think there is an element to the marketing and promotion of it, because if you storm a court, especially if it's like a Saturday evening, and all of that. It's going to get talked about. I know the Super Bowl is coming up, so that's going to be, leading a lot of the storylines, but, having the Sports Center, like we got a court storming here and everyone's talking about the game and how cool it is. And then they're going to bring up, hey, is this Calipari's first court storming? Like it's going to get a lot of promotion to the program and to everything. Not to say that you need it, but still, it's like you get positive vibes. No one's going to be like, this has to stop immediately. These kids rushing the court. I mean, there may be one or two.
Your check might say that.
Yeah. Well, your check can just go to hey, old John Tyson. Be like, hey, man, write this check this time. This is your stuff. Write this check for us and make it happen. So, but yeah, that'll be fun. I'm all for that because even Fred Chestnut, which apparently we got the Chestnuts now in the chat here.
About time.
Wild
time for sure.
But he says,
I've got the Chestnut noties on just for a good laugh every time they tweet.
I'm telling you, it's wild stuff there, wild behavior there. But Fred says, guys, I don't think we can afford two storming of the courts. Well, sure you can. You did before. I mean, you court stormed against Auburn, you court stormed against Duke. But I mean, you can do it. You can afford it. But man, yeah, that's going to make your check mad because they're over here apparently just begging for cash. And if you're going to have to write another check, he may go full Jeff Long and just put like metal barriers in front of the whole crowd. Because I remember he did that. He put the old folks in the handicap section in front of the student section when I was there to say like, oh, yeah, if you do it, you're going to feel horrible because you're going to run over some old people and hurts people. It was just the mind games. So maybe your check goes full that version of him. Hopefully not, though.
You remember when they threw out Caleb Presley and Roan trying to like prep for the storm court, the court storming? They threw them out. So like, yep. I think they would. I think if you beat Texas and that people start camping out for the Bama game, I think the U of A will get preemptive and will start like doing some stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, plus it's your best home game left, right? Like by far.
You get Texas back at home, but Bama's better. Missouri's coming in here. Who else they have? Mississippi State.
Yeah. Please don't. That will be when I put my foot down. Do not storm the court against Mississippi State. Yeah. That cannot happen. Yeah. All right, in fact, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about that for your Alumni Hall question of the day, presented by Alumni Hall. It's the ultimate Razorback shopping experience. All the great apparel for Razorback fans. You can shop them online at insidearkansas.com/Alumni Hall. And we're going to be there again this Friday. We're going to be doing Inside Arkansas live starting at noon right there at 3417 North College Avenue. So looking forward to that. They got all new Razorback hats for baseball, Razorback jerseys for baseball, a lot of the stuff in the apparel that you'll need before the big game against Bama. So check them out today at Alumni Hall and insidearkansas.com/Alumni Hall. So the question is what will the Hogs do against Texas and Alabama this week? Where the choices were beat Texas and Alabama, beat Texas but lose to Bama, beat Bama but lose to Texas, or lose both to Texas and Alabama. And as of right now, 44% of you say beat Texas but lose to Alabama, where at 33.3%, repeating, of course, say lose to both Texas and Bama. So that's how the Hog fans are feeling. Basically, not really a good shot at beating Bama, but you're either going to beat Texas or lose both these games this week.
I mean, if we're thinking logically, that losing both games is the most likely outcome here. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just true. I tend to think that maybe they're going to split this week. I don't know what it'll look like. I might lean towards, and I know I get it because Bama's way better. They kick Kentucky's ass in Rupp, like, so they've done it on the road. I don't know about tomorrow, man. I really am starting to worry about this. They just come out and they look drained and they're not focused. Like, I could really see a letdown there. And then maybe the atmosphere finally wills them over the top in one. But I'm kind of leaning split. But my second most likely would be they just freaking lose both. We thought coming into this 3-game stretch where it was at Kentucky, at Texas, and Bama. Well, like when we were doing our preseason predictions, it's different now because you started 1-6 or whatever. But we were like, man, just don't go over in those 3. Like, just win 1. They've already done that. So the way I see it, they're kind of playing with house money from this stretch, but you get 1 and it just takes so much freaking pressure off of you the rest of the way. Like, you give yourself just a sliver of breathing room that you otherwise won't have.
I mean, I hate to say it, guys. I don't think Arkansas, and this is really going to sound bad. Like, I don't think Arkansas's home court advantage is that big of a deal these days. It will be now. Of course, we think the crowd is going to be the best it's been all year, win or lose against Texas. Or frankly, I think it'll be a better crowd, and they should play pretty. They should be inspired to play at home. But like, we just have no evidence this particular season to think that like Arkansas really gets up for home games and doesn't get up for road games. Hell, even last year's Kentucky team played better on the road. Like, I think there's actually a little bit something to that. The only downside of that is if these were flipped and you played Bama on Wednesday and then Kentucky on Saturday, I would almost guarantee that Arkansas beats Texas on Saturday. Or did I say Kentucky? I meant Texas. If they played Texas on Saturday, I would almost guarantee that they beat them, because I think coming off a loss, Arkansas just a little hungrier. Like, the hungry dog runs faster. They don't seem to like handle success super well. So I feel like you've got the letdown spot Wednesday and then a really tough game against Bama on Saturday. And so I'm with you, Curtis, where I think the most likely is just they lose both, frankly. But I still think like Texas, there's a lot of red flags with Texas as a basketball team. I mean, they still have an interim coach. They've had an interim coach for like 4 years now. Like, what the hell? The Chris Beard thing was a long time ago. Why are y'all still rolling with an interim coach? I don't understand.
They gave him a contract, right?
I understand, but like, come on. I mean, Arkansas also gave John L. Smith a contract. That doesn't mean he wasn't an interim coach. He was an interim coach. But still, I really do think like Texas is just beatable, and Arkansas plays pretty well on the road. So it's like, I think there's a case to be made there. I'm going to go with beat Texas, lose to Bama.
Well, and also, I mean, I hate to be this way because that's something I was thinking about. There's no easy games in the SEC, so I don't want anyone taking this the wrong way. But you think about Arkansas's home and homes in SEC play this year. It's hard to get easier than what you got with Missouri, who's really good, but then Texas and LSU being your other two. Like, that's another thing where, I know the road games, you got most of them difficulty, but as far as the teams you play twice, you got it pretty easy, comparatively speaking. So it would be nice to have Texas be the team you beat twice, because you didn't do it against LSU. You've already lost that one on the road. You've already lost to Missouri on the road. So it would be nice to have at least one of those home and homes you sweep, and maybe you can take care of business against Texas. That would be the hope. So, but yeah, again, they got to get through that one. Tomorrow night's game against the Texas Longhorns happening in Austin again, 8 p.m. Hate those, but it's on ESPN2. It's on the Deuce. So if you want to check it out, be able to see it there, and also check out the Pod at the Palace post-game show going live immediately after to speak more on it and to react to it. And hopefully it's a positive reaction. A few chats here that we'll also get into. Hey, shout out to Joy to the World. I saw one of y'all start this. I was going to start too, but our really residential Kentucky fan who was very gracious and kind to us, even gave us a gift card. Which, by the way, Joy, we didn't use all of it. So if you go back there, I think you got like 13 or 14 bucks left. So if you want to use it for yourself, we don't want it to go to waste, but just give them your name. They'll know who you are.
Yeah, we tried.
Yeah, she said, I really hope Arkansas wins both. Makes Kentucky's loss a little easier, LOL.
So I believe Joy when she says this, because she's a nice person and she likes us, and I get the premise. But Joy, you better, for you and Big Blue Nation, you better hope Arkansas does not win both. I don't think it would make the loss easier. I think all of a sudden it would ruin, because what is every Kentucky fan? They say, oh, well, you beat us and it was your Super Bowl, but you're not going to make the tournament. Well, if Arkansas wins both these games, they're like very much going to be on the right side of all those NCAA tournament talks. And it would just really ignite the fan base. Plus, you're probably losing tonight. You'll win Saturday, but like it would really be in your best interest and the rest of Kentucky for Arkansas to lose both, which we agree is like a thing that can happen.
I would also like just to see the changing of things. Like if Arkansas did that, and how, of course, like Razorback fans and a lot of the national media, not all, but a lot of the national media be like, man, Arkansas, here they come. Can't count out Cal, blah, blah, blah. And then the other side, there will be a lot of Kentucky fans will be like, oh, you guys are just saying this because it's Cal. If it was any other team, looking at the resume, it wouldn't be that way. You wouldn't even care, but it's going to be the case. Which I saw, by the way, Curtis, how'd your poll question go yesterday that you put out there of comparing resumes?
Oh yeah, and people were
it's funny. I know
it's hilarious because it's like it was a blind bubble resume. Literally called it a bubble resume, and people don't understand what that means because they're like responding, going, neither of these are NCAA tournament teams. What are you talking? No shit. That's why I said bubble. Like, figure it out. And then the folks who are like, we know that the Razorbacks are 47th. And we know what you're doing here, Kurt. Yeah. Yeah. And everyone has Google too. Like you can look it up, or you could just have fun with the poll and, vote and just see what happens. I pitted Arkansas against USC and Eric Musselman. All right. Those are the 2 resumes that I put up there. And it's interesting because, and I know it's a lot of Arkansas fans, obviously, who probably, did look it up to see who was who. But 75% of over 1,000 votes had Arkansas's resume stronger than USC's, which is interesting because if you look at pretty much every bracketology out there, USC is in the first 4 out and Arkansas's next 4 out. So the people who are putting these brackets together value USC's resume higher than Arkansas's, but the people think otherwise.
Curtis, I have a weird thought that just kind of entered my brain. You know how obviously there's so many factors when the committee sits in that room and they sit down and make decisions. There's so many factors, but they've shown precedent that injuries affect things. I mean, we saw Florida State lose their quarterback in football a couple years ago, and they didn't make the playoff, and that people they take stuff like that into account. Say that Arkansas went on a run here, and it would be coming without Boogie Fland. Do you think there would be a moment, a part of the conversation, I don't know if it would make the decision, but where the tournament selection would say, well, if you look at this team post Boogie Fland, they're a surefire, no doubt tournament team. Do you think that would come into play at all? Especially because it's a, what have you done for me lately kind of situation sometimes.
I feel like they should, honestly, because one thing they do is they'll look at it and say, this team has really struggled since they lost so-and-so. So you got to take into account if you wind up losing a player, but then you figure it out and you become much better, then yeah. I mean, I think they should do both of those things.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go ahead. I know we'll get to some more of your chats, folks, because it's always very lively. But in fact, I guess we can get to this one too before we move on. Says, will Tremont Mark take this game personally?
No.
All he had to spite our TV and Ronnie Brewer. Let's just get that out of the way. I don't think there's any players formerly of Arkansas that have any sort of ill will towards Arkansas, if they have any ill will, and probably don't even care. So, no, I think it'll just be another game for Tremont Mark for the most part. I think he'll probably, give, Trevin Brazil knuckles or something, and maybe the same thing for Ronnie. But yeah, I don't think that this is something he's going to be like, yeah, I've had this one circled. This game means a lot to me. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be that.
I mean, there's no overlap between the two teams. Like the team he played on at Arkansas and this current Arkansas team, there's it's literally just TB. And I don't think there's much there, but I think Tremont Mark should take this game personally. And I think he should really try and stick it to Arkansas. As many of those pull up long twos as he can take, I think he needs to go all out. Show Arkansas this is an effective way to play basketball. Pull up, contested, long two, drain it right in their face, Tremont.
Yep. And hopefully he doesn't. If the game's on the line, I'm just telling you right now, if the game's on the line and Arkansas's got a 1-point lead or it's tied, I don't want Tremont Mark to have the ball. I'm just going to be honest.
You don't have to worry about that. He won't. Unless he gets it on a rebound. Because if it touches his hands, it's not going anywhere else until he puts a shot up. But,
he hit. Maybe he's just an A&M
if he gets the ball.
Yeah.
His production's cutting like half at Texas this year from what it was at Arkansas.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and jump into a little bit of buy or sell action presented by Bet Saracen. You download the Bet Saracen app. It's the #1 sports betting app in the state of Arkansas, bar none. A lot of money being won over the weekend, and you can get all the things for college basketball. You get Super Bowl prop plays because that's coming up. There's only one place to do it here in the state of Arkansas. It's with Bet Saracen. You can download the app on your iPhone or on your Android, and you can also go online at betsaracen.com and get to betting and to winning right away with Bet Saracen. So just a few little buy or sells. Some of these are made up. Some of these are user or I guess audience polled or submitted. I don't know what you want to call them, whatever. But how about this? All right, buy or sell. Trevin Brazil will lead the team in rebounding in one game this year.
Buy.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to take some Big Z foul trouble or some Big Z just stinking it up, because I'm trying to think. I mean, just with the way that the minutes have been distributed, it's going to be tough. But yeah, I could definitely see it, because I mean, he's had a couple good rebounding games this year. Has he done it yet?
That's
probably.
Well, I looked it up and I didn't see one, but maybe I don't have the really intrigued audience and or the numbers there. So
well, here's the thing:
with Jonas Aidoo
rebound the basketball.
Yeah.
So even if Big Z plays 36 minutes,
Well, none of
probably
them
got,
rebound the
60
basketball.
rebounds.
If Aidoo is playing with one leg, then they don't have anybody who's,
Right.
really getting after it. Thero, I guess. But
when Aidoo's led the team in or maybe not led it, but he's had some like 8, 9, 10 rebound games, like some flirting with double games. So if Brazil were just getting those minutes, which is kind of obviously what you called for, I could definitely see it. Him having like a 8 rebounds in 18 minutes type of thing.
Also, this is while dealing with Nelly Davis, since he had the Nelly Davis game. How about this? Nelly Davis will average 15 points per game the rest of the season, as in from this point on, not like average over the whole year. For the final 10 games of the season, he'll average 15 points a game.
Bye.
I'm buying it too. I mean, look at the shot attempts he's taken since Boogie left the lineup. What did he take, like 16, 17 against Georgia or against Oklahoma there? He took a good bit of shots. Like, I think he's going to take double-digit shot attempts in damn near every game. And, even if he doesn't ball out and play that well, he should be able to average in the low teens, early mid-teens. And so, yeah, he'll have some 20-point games, I would imagine. I think he'll average 15 the rest of the season.
Buy or sell that Kentucky will win an NCAA tournament game this March.
Sell it. Sell it.
Hard sell.
And I just, man, like with their point guard situation right now and their defense, I feel like they're going to take some L's here the rest of the way. They're going to get in the tournament very, very safely. But if I really believe that they were going to be a 3 or 4 seed or whatever, I'd be like, oh yeah, I mean, they'll probably get one, but they're kind of tracking to me towards maybe a 7 or something. You never know. I'm going to sell it for the hell of it.
Yeah.
I'm probably selling it just because people are going to feel a certain way and get mad or whatever, and that's fine. But it's just, y'all can't play defense. Like that's what worries me. Y'all just can't play defense. And when you go up against, like last year, for instance, when Kentucky lost to Oakland and all those fans are fed up and tired of Cal, do you think this year's team would have beaten that Oakland team too? I mean, you can't guard anybody. You can't play defense. So, yeah, your offense can do really good. And who knows, maybe you win because you score 100 points. But tournament, man, it's about that defense because defense travels, as they say. So I just, I'm probably going to sell it just based on that one alone. All right, so we got a few. We got a group one here and a few personal ones here. How about this? Buy or sell that Inside Arkansas looks best with facial hair, as in all of us.
I'm going to buy this. I think me personally, I think I look weird sometimes with zero facial hair. Not that I have that good of facial hair, but I just think I look worse without it.
I know I look worse without it. That's why I've had a beard like really since like the last time I did not have a beard was probably 15 years ago, something like that. When I worked at Enterprise Rent-A-Car and they wouldn't allow you to have facial hair. So
Curtis is our only
New York Yankees over there.
Yeah, I mean, they wanted clean cut people cleaning out their cars and renting them those Chevrolet Cobalts. So you had to be on top of your game. But yeah, I don't know. I think that facial hair is distinguished, but also I'm lazy and I don't want to shave and spend a bunch of money on razor blades all the time. So that's where I'm at with it. How about this? Buy or sell? Andrew uses the phrase, "Come on, Blue," the most when he watches a baseball game.
Well, you guys have been around me for non-baseball games. I don't ever call the refs anything other than blue.
Yep.
I actually think I say "Come on, Blue" way more in basketball than I do baseball.
Okay. I was going to buy this one. Again, these were submitted by others, but this was also submitted by people that has not watched a game with Andrew. So that's when I said, I was like, oh yeah, we got to talk about that one. But
that's a good one.
Yeah. So I'll buy it too. Would you say that's your most used phrase though, Andrew? Is "Come on, Blue"?
Yeah. Sometimes I was thinking about it just now. Sometimes I just say "Blue, Blue," like just kind of yelling at him. But no, I definitely am big "Come on, Blue" guy.
Yeah. Pause. Yeah, there was a way of like baseball games and just going to them. I always enjoy hearing the chatter from the crowd because there's always those like 1 or 2 guys that have their go-to phrase and just yell it out, and they do it in those opportune moments every single time.
You gotta let the home plate ump know to check his voicemail because he missed a few calls. You gotta let him know.
Yes, just all that stuff, man.
Hey, there's a good game going on, Blue. You gotta check it out.
Buy or sell that Curtis could make more free throws. It's supposed to be blindfolded than right-handed?
I think he can make one right-handed.
I think he's a methodical man. And so I'm going to say he can make more blindfolded because he feels it. He feels it out. But right-handed throws him off his rhythm. He's not used to that. So I think he can make more blindfolded.
I mean, I like my chances blindfolded more than right-handed.
Really? You can't shoot right-handed at all?
It's just a rhythm thing. The free throw line is just a rhythm thing. I think it'd be blindfolded.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be great either way.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. That's the thing. Is I don't think it's going to be graceful. I don't think it's going to be one of those things that's just like automatic. But,
Interesting.
Yeah. We got to do like some of this stuff and keep tabs on it. And we just do these things like in the summertime and just let's actually test these things and see how many people were right, how many people were wrong. Also, this again was submitted, but buy or sell that John will have his luggage show up today at his house.
Big sell alert.
Thursday at the absolute earliest, bro.
I was texting John earlier, and I was like, man, it's a shame that your bag's not going to be in tonight since I'll be back at XNA at 4:30 in the morning. I just stroll on in there and deliver it personally. But
you doing drop off or pickup?
Either or.
But I meant like, are you taking Michelle to the airport or are you picking her up?
Oh, I'm dropping her off.
It's like, it wasn't a trick question.
Sorry, I didn't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah. I was going to say that, like, I'm out of trips you make to the airport, Curtis. You may just start putting out like an Uber request. Be like, hey, listen, I'm going to be up there anyway. So if anybody needs a ride out to the airport, pay me for it because I got to go up there anyways. So might as well at this point. But yeah, I'm selling it. I hate this so much, and it's just stupid. So I'm hoping that it can happen soon, but it won't. I know it won't, and I'm fine with it. I'm accepting it, and that's just hunky dory with me. So, hey, shout out for a super chat from Cade. Appreciate you. Just says, any chance Fland comes back next year?
No, sir.
Nope. No.
Too big of a
appreciate
no.
you. Yeah.
Appreciate the super chat, but no, absolutely zero chance.
That's so funny.
Zero chance that ends up happening. So
he's back on campus though.
That's
good.
Plan. Yeah.
Will he be at the Texas game tomorrow night? Is he traveling with the team?
That's a good question. I would think so.
Okay.
He'll definitely be at the Bama game, you'd imagine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would hope so. And that'd be cool, too, to have him there, especially if, Arkansas's gaining a little momentum there. It'd be awesome to have him. In fact, let's go ahead and use that as part of our Arkansas update presented by Davis & Garrett Insurance, your independent auto owners insurance agency, securing what matters the most. Curtis, you got to hear from Kenny Payne today, getting Arkansas Razorbacks ready for the game against Texas tomorrow night. Anything that he had to say that really stood out? I know we had the press conference in full video on our Inside Arkansas account, but anything of note?
No.
All right, good.
No.
Consistency.
I mean, we could play that game if y'all want to. Carter Knox is evolving as a freshman. Nelly Davis has a great work ethic. Picking pops with Big Z was not something they just discovered against Kentucky, although that question was asked. Texas is very dangerous as a basketball team.
There you go.
Good.
It was funny. He spoke obviously real highly about Trey Johnson, who's just that dude's electric, man, as a freshman over there. But then he goes and and they got a guy who I think played here last year, and they just kind of moved on from Tremont Mark.
Yeah. Well, it's like, what are you supposed to say? Like, if it were Muss, you could really do like 3 or 4 Tremont Mark questions, 3 or whatever. But it's like, it's not really much of a story there, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, it was. I liked it because he was asked kind of specifically about a number of different players. But outside of that, it was pretty stock, like, oh, we had a good week of practice, and so we executed. And
Let me ask you this, Curtis, and maybe Kenny Payne is probably the one I should have asked this. Is it as simple as you cut off the head of the snake, you shut down Trey Johnson, you beat Texas? Is it that simple?
I think the X factor for him is Kaluma.
Oh yeah,
because
I forgot. I keep forgetting he's there.
Yeah, and Trey Johnson, like he's the closer, but he's very, very consistent. But like when Kaluma is really cooking for them, they're hard to beat. They almost beat Auburn, in that building on a night where Kaluma went nuts and went for 35. But then the next night he'll, go 3 of 13 from the floor and have 5 turnovers. So it's just like, which version of him do they get? I think it's about winning that matchup. And then, yeah, like you can't let Trey Johnson get off for 30 or whatever. He's so good. He's really good as a freshman. They're sneaky, man, with some of the dudes that they have there. They got the Jordan Pope kid from Oregon State that was on our portal board. It's just he's like a firecracker on offense. He scored 40 on somebody earlier in the year. I don't like their front court is they're not going to have the Amari Williams. It's just dunking on Big Z every play kind of guy. So I think that might be beneficial for Arkansas there.
Also, just a few other things real quick for your Arkansas update. I just laugh because the NBA is so dumb, but it's just like, I'm laughing because of this report. It says the Golden State Warriors are monitoring Bobby Portis. So
he might be packing his bags. He's definitely got a guy I've been seeing thrown in some trade talks. When is the deadline? Do you know?
I wouldn't know.
For some reason, the 6th was stuck in my mind, but I really don't have any reason to believe that.
It is the 6th at 2 p.m. Central Time.
Okay.
Oh, that's interesting. So it'll be like on the show. We might get a Bobby Portis trade while we are doing the show.
Get that breaking news alert.
Yep. Hit that and talk about Portis and I guess all the Arkansas Eagles are Bobby Portis and Moses Moody reuniting, and then though they weren't ever together. So yeah,
the Warriors are like, they just seem very intent on adding someone alongside Steph, but nobody wants to play with him or something. Or like Jimmy Butler, like what'd he say? He didn't want to sign a long-term extension or something. So they're like, nah, we're not going to do that. And
Jimmy Butler's such a joke. Dude. I really do like Jimmy Butler, like as a person. And like, I've enjoyed his career. What is it about? He's like, oh yeah, the Warriors, just not the type of organization I want to be with long term. Like, why would, if you don't want to go play for Golden State, that means you just don't want to play for like a normal basketball team. If you don't want to be a part of an actual culture. If you're like Miami Heat, don't like being there. Don't want to go to Golden State. It's like, so you just want to go somewhere where like you can yell at everybody. That's really what it is.
Sacramento or something. I mean, what?
Right, Chicago. Now that they don't have anybody.
Yeah,
yeah. Because didn't he start his career at Chicago? Was that where he started?
Yeah.
Make it full circle then. Also, another quick thing I saw, this was highlighted before, and Andrew, I know you're tweeting about it. Caleb feels like this year's Sounds of Bomb sucks,
dude,
in his opinion.
This is the most stunning take I've seen on this show. There's been a lot of stinkers in the chat. This might be the worst take I've ever seen. No disrespect. Because everybody, I feel like the unanimous reaction has been like, this might be the best Sounds of Bomb they've ever had. Obviously, you know, everyone likes their kind of music. Everyone has their preference. But that's what I always like about Sounds of Bomb is like, if you're a rock guy, there's some Motley Crue, you know, there's some Alice in Chains, there's some whatever, you know, you got all that. Someone even had some Journey, Separate Ways, you know, that you got that going on. If you like rap, there's of course plenty of that. I like that the Hawaiian boys have brought some reggae, some country reggae into the mix. We got some of those vibes going on. We've also just got like classic hits, you know, like I'm trying to think. Brent Iredale, the Australian guy, stunning. Everyone thought he was going to go with Down Under, of course, because he's Australian, and that's how our brains work. We're like, oh, the Australian guy should have Land Down Under as his song. He went with the Chris Brown song from The Office that like they at the wedding. You know, I think it's called Forever.
Yeah.
He has that as his walk-up song. So there's just like a complete mix of vibes going on here. A few guys like Ben Bybee and Will McIntyre took like remixes of songs that like have like a little bit of like a pump up party mix type of vibe to them. Like it's just good stuff top to bottom. I really enjoyed it, and I'm into it.
I just crack up laugh because I'll never forget. This happened in the Hog Pen, if you can believe it. But there was somebody we were talking about this a few years ago, but they were talking about the music and the walk-up music, and just in the most stereotypical way possible. This guy's like, you know, back when like in the mid 2000s, it seemed like everybody just had stuff like AC/DC and Skinner, and you know it was great. You got the fans into it. You got Metallica going out there. You just need to get that. Just don't even let the kids choose their music because no one knows what this music is. And I remember that. I'm like, that is the most like old man baseball stupid takes of all time. Like just get some Skinner in there. It'll be great.
That's what I think is cool about it is that there's a lot of that going on. Like Gabe Gackle is walking out to Metallica.
Yeah.
Like there is a lot of that, and there's a lot of just like there's some Tupac in there. Like there's a lot of like not because that's always my big fear is like it's going to be all modern artists, Lil Baby and Lil Uzi or whoever. And there's a decent amount of that. Although I will give credit to the Wiggins boys. You can tell those Wiggins boys play basketball. They always have like Meek Mill or Lil Baby. Like they're always walking out to some rap.
Yeah. Well, some of these things I was laughing at too because I saw like Zach Root. I don't know how much like what people are going to think about him, but he's got Rob Zombie, and I'm like, Rob Zombie, like Dracula, like okay. I mean, listen, that's a great song and all that, but just was a little I don't know, a little surprised by that, but still, yeah. I looked through a few. I didn't look through all of them. I'm sure. Andrew, you're going to have a breakdown of it all.
I will Thursday.
On Bombastic Podcast. So, but yeah, I just saw that comment. I'm like, man, not saying you said that, Caleb, but I just will never forget that fan just being like, man, we're just going down the toilet and don't get none of them classic rock songs instead of getting all this rap stuff. It's like, all right, relax, buddy. Jeez. All right. So there you have it. There is your Arkansas update. Let's go ahead and also jump into your SEC update presented by Rhoback. Use promo code HOGSBY20 on Rhoback.com, and you'll be able to get 20% off your very first purchase and have great apparel, all the performance gear, athleisure that you could possibly want for not only the cold weather, but also the warm weather. So check it out, Rhoback.com. Use promo code HOGSBY20 for 20% off your first purchase. All right. So we talked about some SEC games tonight, Kentucky and Ole Miss being the big one. Do I dare dabble? Do I dare ask for y'all's interest in a Florida Vanderbilt action down there in Gainesville, where, according to Bet Saracen, Florida's favored by 12.5 points? Any action on that?
Y'all remember like a week ago on the show when I said that FanDuel had it plus 210 for Vanderbilt to not make the tournament, and I thought that was crazy. And then they immediately beat Kentucky, and so I was like, oh damn, like Vanderbilt really might be a tournament team. That loss they had to Oklahoma the other day is the type of loss that they're going to look back on and be like, oh, that's when it all fell apart. Who knows what Vanderbilt's going to do down the stretch? They're not a bad team. I still think I think they're about to get their absolute teeth kicked in by Florida, if I had to guess, because Florida's also coming off of an embarrassing showing. They're going to be pissed off. I would imagine Florida's going to beat them pretty good, and then we'll see. I think Arkansas is going to beat Vanderbilt later in the year. And so I think Vanderbilt, like, we're going to look back and be like, that second half against Oklahoma is when it all fell apart.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for me to believe in a team like Vanderbilt in some cases, but then again, the SEC is so chaotic and weird. Watch them go down to Florida and win, and down there in Gainesville. So, yeah, I don't know. The other game, though, of note, you do have the number one team in the country playing tonight in the Auburn Tigers against the Oklahoma Sooners down there in Auburn. So
at Auburn,
yeah.
My goodness, man.
They are, according to Bet Saracen, 17.5 point favorites, the Auburn Tigers.
17.5. Holy cow. And Oklahoma's coming off of a win.
They'll win by at least 20.
I think so, too.
Yeah, I'm definitely agreeing. I can't remember the many times I've seen a conference spread that big. And Oklahoma's not good, but they're 3-5. Like, it's not like they're South Carolina. Obviously South Carolina, if they were playing at Auburn, we'd be like, okay, yeah, fat spread. That is a fat spread.
Yeah. And what cracks me up,
arguing it.
Well, what cracks me up is that's the largest spread of tonight, but it's the lowest over-under of all the SEC games tonight, where the over-under set at 154.5. So, I think Auburn rolls and rolls big into that game. That's also at 8 p.m. on the SEC network. So, get your action there and see if Auburn continues to make it work and continues to dominate. I know there'll be a few more games tomorrow night, but that's what I'm loving about the SEC being good is that every Tuesday and Wednesday night seems like we're always going to have a top 25 matchup. So that's nice to see, and that's nice to have.
For sure.
There's a huge non-SEC game tonight. Marquette St. John. Yeah. Marquette's going to St. John. I think it's 11 versus 12.
That's a fun one.
That's going to be a good one. I'm excited to see what Patino and his boys can do.
Yeah. So this is a stupid question because I feel like I should know this. I think I do know the answer. St. John's plays in Madison Square Garden as their home arena every time, right?
Not every time.
Okay. But
they've got their own place, but they do play there fairly regularly. It's weird.
Okay. Because the reason I was saying, I was like, man, because that's where it's being played tonight.
Nice.
Yeah. And I was just hoping that like Cal would put out a video telling Marquette people not to boo. Please, guys, don't boo. Rick Pitino. He's
Yeah.
a guy that is really good and everything.
No plastic bottles in Madison Square Garden tonight, please.
Yeah, man, that's something that I can't believe I did not bring that up. I was so mad about that because I was real quick, folks. For those who know the context, I went into the game in Rupp, and the person I was with, we were just going, get some drinks or whatever before the game starts. And I see this again, first time I've been to Rupp, so I just thought this was common. You go through the line, and at the end, they got like 4 people twisting off your beer bottles or your sodas or whatever and pouring them into a plastic cup. I was like, okay, that's kind of strange, but whatever. And then I see Kentucky fans, a few of them around, were like frustrated. They're like, why are we doing this? You're making the line take forever and all this. They're like, policy's been, they don't want anything being thrown at Calipari in his return, so we got to put him in plastic cups. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Oh, man. So, but I guess the KSR guys were saying that it was Cal that was the one that requested it.
Yeah, one of them said that somebody told him that. I don't know if that's true or not.
I don't buy that. I sincerely don't think that Cal is putting in a call to Mitch Barnhart and saying, hey, man, like, can we just, kill the beer bottles and just put them in cups? I'll pay for the plastic cups. I'll put some money in. Like, no, that's not happening. Stop.
It wasn't that kind of environment of like people getting mad. And honestly, I don't know, like hit me with a plastic beer bottle. I'd rather you hit me with the bottle than dump a beer on my head. But I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would have been funny to try to see people trying to throw those empty cups, because that's the thing. You could get some good, aerodynamics when it comes to those beer bottles empty, but when it comes to those big plastic cups, those suckers are going nowhere. So,
hey, shout out to the KS bar, by the way. This just randomly reminded me, Curtis, you remember whenever I asked for a drink and the dude goes into the fridge and comes out with a plastic cup?
That's crazy.
Full of Miller Lite. I was like, I ain't never seen nothing like that. But I don't know. Maybe the memo went all the way to KSR. Maybe
so. Yeah, that was funny.
They ran out of beer Saturday, by the way.
KS Bar did?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I could see that, dude. We got in there before noon and it was packed to the gills, man. So I would imagine it didn't stop being packed as the game got closer.
No, and a lot of those Kentucky fans, I'm sure, had to drink their sorrows away pretty quickly once it kept going. But hey, that's a good problem to have. You did good business down there. So yeah, definitely want to bring that up. On a sadder note, I sent this to you guys this morning, and I don't know if you had a chance to watch it, but there is a connection here. There was on ABC News, I guess it was Good Morning America, there was a sit-down interview with Michael Strahan with former Razorback, as well as a former LSU player, Greg Brooks Jr. We talked about it here on this show months ago about his condition and how he had to deal with brain cancer and how it was just so terrible and such an awful process and everything. Well, first time that we've really at least gotten to hear from him, and I tweeted it out. I encourage everybody to check it out and everything. And they're just talking about their lawsuit against LSU and how they felt like there was a lot of problems with the surgery that it could have been prevented, and there was problems with the symptoms and everything and how it could have been prevented. Really, really, sad stuff. And it's all allegedly, like you got to take it that way. But it really was sad to see just in the condition that Greg Brooks was in. He talked, he was in a wheelchair, but his speech is almost non-existent. He's having to learn how to talk again, how to eat again, all of that stuff. And to just kind of see it in person or see it kind of at firsthand was really shocking. And so, just another thing that I wanted to kind of give thoughts and prayers, and hopefully he has a speedy recovery and gets back to normal. Because man, that was heartbreaking. It was really heartbreaking to see a guy who was so good at football and, all of that to now just at the young age he's in, being the conditions he's in. So hopefully he's back on the road to recovery, but very powerful and very scary thing that happened with Greg Brooks.
Yeah, that was for sure, man. That was a tough watch. Hate that. And hopefully there's a pathway for him, like through all the therapy and everything, to get at least somewhat close to a normal life. Like it was at least encouraging. It was really sad, but he seemed like he understood what was going on. He could, understand what people were saying to him. It was tough for him to communicate, but he could.
Yeah.
And so that was encouraging, but man, just tough stuff there. And I guess, cause what was it? Strahan's daughter, or is that who it was, who had the same thing? Her surgery went better though. And I guess that was the deal with his, where they were saying he had strokes during the operation. And I think that's probably part of the biggest part of the issue there. Just, man, it's just so sad.
Yeah.
It's scary is what it is, man. It's scary because he's so young. And by the way, this wasn't like this past football season. This was the season before, if I recall. So we're talking about like 18 months that this has been going on. Like this process has been going on. We actually talked about it on the show that one time whenever it came out that there might be some some legal issues involved with this whole thing. It's scary, man. And what I'm not about to do is use this to push any type of narrative about coaching or the rivalry or NIL or whatever. But when players first started getting paid, this is kind of not this particular situation, but one of the things that was a big part of it is, hey, these athletes are risking their lives for these universities. And look, there's a lot that goes in. I'm not about to have that conversation, but this is kind of one of those things. Like I remember that guy from Rutgers who broke his neck and he was paralyzed and all that. You think about this kind of stuff, man, and it really is scary, and that's why it's hard for me to ever be on the side of players shouldn't get compensated, especially when you're at a big university like that and all that. And so it just sucks that someone like his time at LSU, his time at Arkansas is done, and he had a good college football career, better than most people in the world. But he's gonna have to live with the ramifications of it for the rest of his life, man. And it sucks. And really just prayers for the family, because I know his grandma, I believe it was, like a huge fan of obviously just sports. Him, of course, our grandson, and just his career. And it's not fun, man. It's not fun at all. And so hope his journey has a positive ending there.
Yeah, and I'll also add this into the mix because I know again it's a lot of stuff going on and investigations and lawsuits and all that. But one of the things that stood out to me that Greg Brooks Sr. said in the interview was that Brian Kelly has not reached out to Greg. He said specifically Brian Kelly. He said this, and I quote, he says, "My son almost lost his life, coach. Where were you? Forget about football. Pick up the phone and say you love the kid." Now, again, two sides of every story in it. But if that's true, and if Brian Kelly has not called, has not checked on, has not done any of that stuff, that dude is scum of the earth, the absolute scum of the earth, if that's what's happened. So I really hope it's not true, or I really hope there was maybe a miscommunication or something. But man, that is an awful, awful, awful look for Brian Kelly if he has yet to pick up the phone and even like talk to Greg Brooks or talk to the family. That's awful.
Bad look. But if him and the university are involved in a lawsuit, he can't contact him either.
Yeah.
But if he wasn't doing so beforehand, because I don't think they filed that right away. That's tough. But I don't know. I don't want to speak on that too much because I don't know why that would be the case.
Yeah. And that's just and that's what more I was referring to is assuming that this has been the whole process that they haven't heard. Because if that's the case, that's just pretty terrible. So, anyways, on a lighter note, though, a few things before we close up shop here and get going there. I'm cracking up because again, the NBA stuff is always funny to see and how it all plays down. But Luka did his little press conference today, and he looked pretty sad. It's kind of weird. I don't know. It's just a very weird situation and vibe to see him like going through what he went through, and now he's at a new team, and it doesn't seem like he's happy. No one seems happy. No one thinks it's going to work. I don't know. It's a very strange thing.
I think he's going through a lot of, obviously he was in Dallas for a long time. I mean, when he went to Dallas, he was like 18 years old, so he grew up there. He's always going to have a lot of memories there. So I'm sure that plays a role. When he first got to LA, someone had a screenshot of him and they were like, it looks like he spent the whole night crying the night before. He was up till 3 a.m. crying, which very well may be the case. And that doesn't really have anything to do with how he feels about LA or his future. I think it's just a tough thing to process. I would also add that a lot of times when I see these press conferences that are happening, 36 hours after the trade, that's probably the last thing you want to do is go take a bunch of pictures, be on camera, have to say words at a press conference. I don't know if he had to speak that much or whatever, but that's probably like as you're trying to adapt and get used to what your new life is going to be like. I'm sure that is the absolute last thing he wanted to do.
Yeah. I can't imagine. And also, what was it? He had that $15 million home that he just bought. Now it's not there anymore.
AD will take it off his hands.
Yeah. Not to mention, by the way, he's no longer eligible for a supermax contract, which I think is another like huge thing involved in this. Is like he's going to be able to obviously sign a huge extension for a lot of money, literally like a $100 million decision that was made. That's a tough one too. So I'm sure that has to be in the back of his mind.
Yeah. Also, just again, a random note, but I saw that the MLB had fired a well-respected umpire. Speaking of blue, and Pat Hoiberg, because an investigation showed he shared a legal gambling account with his friend who was betting on baseball, which included some of the games that he umpired. So,
yeah, that's not good.
No,
can't do that.
No. And that's what I keep bringing up. And, we could spend all day talking about and debating whether or not it's good or bad or like what should be done. How about this? If you're involved in sports, especially professionally, just stay away from betting in any regard, in any walk of life. Just don't even think about it. Don't talk to anybody about it. Don't do it. Just don't do it. And you'll keep your job, because that is one thing that it's not like, oh, they've been wrong. No, that's one thing that should never and can never and will never be like tolerated at all. If you are involved at all, you're done, no matter what it is. So,
did you guys see about the college basketball gambling ring, like the new investigation that's going on?
I don't know if I have.
So yeah, I was reading about this on CBS Sports. I just pulled it back up, and it says accounts connected with a gambling ring that is under federal investigation for its participation in 2 NBA betting cases have been tied to unusual wagering activity on at least 3 men's college basketball programs. And so the 3 schools are Mississippi Valley State.
Classic.
Okay. Eastern Michigan, shout out Stan Heath. And then North Carolina A&T, who Arkansas played. And then it says North Carolina A&T recently suspended 3 basketball players, including the top 2 scorers, which are both kids from Arkansas, for violating team rules last week. So they don't know if it's tied to this case or not, but it's kind of crazy.
Is that Glasper? Is he over there?
Glasper and Ryan Forrest. Yeah.
Wow.
And so there's suspended. They don't know. Like, it hasn't been said if it's because of this, but now their program is connected to this gambling ring thing. It's kind of nuts, man.
Jeez, man, that is crazy.
I mean, look, as a sports gambler, as someone who obviously bets on sports a lot, and like I'm all for it and stuff, like this kind of stuff is going to keep happening for sure. And so I also think like the enforcement of this kind of stuff, I don't envy these people, because you got to really be checking in the weeds of everything, man. Like this is not going to be the last story of this kind. The more that sports gambling becomes a thing, there's going to be weird conspiracies and things going on. And I just got to say, like, people have always said sports is rigged for a really long time. Anybody who at this point in 2025, if you're like super against and don't think sports are rigged in some form or fashion, you are out of your mind. Like, I'm not saying every single game you watch, it's like WWE, a predetermined thing, but like, you don't think stuff like this happens every day at different levels of sports? I would venture, and it might not be like rigging, like, hey, I'm going to purposely sandbag or whatever, but there's an official with money, there's a coach with money, there's a player who's got a bet. Like, there's something going on in a lot of these games.
Yeah, I just think it's funny when, like, one of two things: either one, people are one side where it doesn't happen ever, and the other people are just like shocked when they find out it does. Like, I cannot believe this. How could this happen? Like, that's the most ridiculous thing. But anytime some story like this comes up, I will always think about and laugh. And of course, it's lost his name again. But the Alabama baseball coach, man, still the funniest.
Bohannon.
Yeah, Bohannon, the funniest and stupidest thing to get in trouble and get fired for was sports gambling, with what he was doing. When the guy's sitting there at the thing, no, I know the coach. I know him. He's texting me right now, telling me he made pensions.
Yeah, his buddy did him dirty. Hey, Curtis, you know who set the standard for this, by the way? Nathan Scott, One Tree Hill.
Yeah, man.
He was the first. He was the first point shaver like that.
Nobody ever thought of it until they were watching that critically acclaimed series, and it's like, oh.
I was watching CW one night, and I came up with a great idea.
Hey, speaking of, this is random, but was CW ever called the WB, or was that a different channel altogether? Do you guys remember?
I remember the WB.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Yeah, see, I don't remember if it was the same or not. Somebody brought that up to me the other day when talking about CW, because there's college basketball on CW now. I was like, I don't know. I don't remember. There's always those random channels I do, like Spike TV. I don't know if you guys remember Spike TV.
Mansers. Remember Mansers?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, Spike TV had the slam ball tournaments. That's when I really started watching Spike TV. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was called WB at some point in time. Also, good news though, guys. Shout
The
to
answer is
Christina.
no, by the way.
Oh, okay. Well, good to know. Now I can
According
relay the
to according to AI on a Google search. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Christina here says, "Hi, John. Met you at KS Bar. Beers just got back in stock this morning." So, yes, it was nice to meet you, Christina. But glad to see that they are fully stocked, ready to go. And if that's actually true, which I'm assuming it is, could you imagine going in there yesterday? Trying to, hey, I need a couple beers. It's like, hey, we're all out of beer.
It was it was pretty funny. I listened to at least the start of their show yesterday because I just want to see what the reaction and the fallout was. And Matt Jones was talking about it, and they were like, "Yeah, it's a tough time to have a sober Sunday, over at the KS bar." So,
do dry February instead and make that happen. Now, who would have thought that KS Bar would get their beer before I'd get my own luggage? It's amazing how that works. Also, I want to read this from G. Cox. He says, "I'm a Kentucky fan. Apologies for the jerks among us. You guys are great. Only thing I'd add is that we lost our game with both our point guards out. Even though you guys had yours out, we had both. You guys are great. You are right about getting ready for the Rebels. So
good luck against the Rebs.
Yeah, good luck against the Rebs, and we appreciate that for sure. I gotta say, I just have to do it though. Is Kentucky had their point guard out? The new DJ Wagner started over Reed Shepherd.
People are saying
it's like one of those things where people are like, wait a minute, guys, but you don't know this. You don't know this piece of information that only BBN is aware of. A very prominent player of our team was not playing.
I tell you, man, the stereotypes of Cal, I'll have those memorized more than anything else in my life right now. And it just all happened for the past week, even though I already kind of knew them. But man, it was
funny to watch some Kentucky fans in real time. They were like, wait a minute, has he called you a basketball Benny yet? And we were like, yeah. He's like, sucks, right? It's like, it really wasn't that these. They were like, no, that sucks, right? Like, I mean, it is what it is. Like,
they don't like that at all.
No,
basketball really Benny, that's like a slur, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were. Yeah, they would get fired up and it's almost like I wanted to make a segment, almost a bit out of it. Just be like, did you guys know? Like, I just because it always starts there. Has he done this? Yeah, he's done that. And he's like, yeah, right. What does that have to do with winning? Like, what's saying? Remember when he says this in the press conference? Isn't that just like it's God? It just gets on my nerves. Why?
And I'm sure he said it a million times over there, so there's probably some context involved. But a couple times he said it at Arkansas, it has not come across condescending to me at all. I was just whatever.
He said it really early in his tenure, and it didn't really register with me, like, because we hadn't had BBN shoving it down our throats for a while. Like, it really didn't set in with me. I didn't even really remember it.
No, I didn't either. That's the thing is we like to have fun with just his polling the audience stuff and all that, but he's not really said anything in the press conference where I'm like, this jerk. Like, can you believe this guy? Can you believe what he's saying right now?
The only time that he got a little bit under my skin, I can't remember which game it was after. It was on the road. But one of our reporters asked him about, you cut the game to 3 or whatever. And then he stopped him and he looked over at Kaywood and he was like, it was 2, right? Like we got within 2. That's different than 3, it's like, get your facts right, guy. It's like, okay.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say it was when he's like, and I should have done that shoot around. I hated that we didn't do it. I thought you were going to go that route.
Kentucky didn't do a shoot around at Vanderbilt.
Dude, preposterous. I was told that every coach does that. All the good ones do.
Man,
that's what I was told. What happened in that game?
I can't recall.
I do. Kentucky lost. You do your shoot arounds, coaches. Do your shoot arounds. So, all right, fellas. Any final thoughts before we roll out of here for the day?
Nah, man. I'm good. Looking forward to the game tomorrow.
Yeah, nothing crazy. Just tune into the Bombastic Podcast.
All right. Some would say that's crazy, but it's not crazy talk.
Yeah.
But it'll still be good. So, yeah. Appreciate each and every one of you listening and watching in Inside Arkansas Live. Be sure to subscribe to us here on Inside Arkansas on our YouTube page. Check out all of our podcasts, wherever podcasts are found and available, whether it's Pod at the Palace or Bombastic Podcast or Inside Arkansas Live. You can check it out there. Check out our website at InsideArkansas.com for all the latest and greatest up-to-date information on all things Razorbacks, as well as on social media at Inside Arkansas. So, for Andrew Ellis and Curtis Wilkerson, I am John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel. Tomorrow afternoon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you then.